Thank you so much, Pastor, and thank you for this opportunity to let me share my heart and be a little transparent today. I just pray the Lord give me lots of strength to do this because it isn't an easy thing by any means. First of all, I guess, we see people in our lives every day, and when you come across their path, you may see that they're a really godly person, and you think, wow, that's great. I wish I could be that someday, and you don't have any clue what the road was that it took to get them there, and you just think, oh, well, they've been raised that way, and they were probably that way from, early on. They accepted Christ, real young, and praise God for that. Well, that wasn't my story. I was born into a really great Christian home. My mom was religious. She knew Lutheran religion very well, the liturgy, the doctrine, that they teach. My dad, not so much. My dad was not a Christian at all. He fought to go to church every week. There would be a big argument all the time for them to go to church. But Mom was really dedicated to raising us in the Lutheran church and to know God like she did. But unfortunately, it was not a relationship with God that she had. She knew the rules and she knew the regulations, and that's what she then taught us as kids. So I knew the rules and I knew the regulations, and if you didn't follow these rules, then your fate was you were going to hell. I didn't want that, so I tried really hard to fulfill those rules and regulations. But I really didn't know what that all meant. It was like there was this big God that was watching over me, and if I did something wrong, he was really disappointed, and he was going to punish me for that. That's my perception of what I was hearing at church and in the Sunday schools and everything. And I mean, we went every Sunday, went to summer camp, went to the whole 9 yards. But as I was growing up, God made me one of those inquisitive people, how come this? Why this? And so I started asking questions. And I truly believe now that is part of our growth process in him, is to ask questions, because you've got to ask questions. Where did I come from? How come I did that? And why am I here now? And so when I was in grade school, I started actually asking questions. And nobody could answer those questions because, again, my mom knew the rules and the regulations. So when I would go to her with questions, she would say, well, this is what they say in church. But my church wasn't even so much as, read the Bible and find out. We had the big, pretty Bible sitting on the coffee table in the living room. I don't know how many of you had that big, pretty Bible sitting there. But you weren't supposed to touch it or anything. You were just supposed to look at it and say, that's a pretty Bible sitting there. But as far as reading it, it didn't ever happen. So that was unfortunate. But different things happened in my life then. When I was in grade school, we were home alone, my sister and I, and the kids from the neighborhood would always come over and play basketball at my house because I was the only one that had the basketball hoop because I loved to play basketball. I wasn't very good at it, but I loved to play it. And so they all came over, and my mom and dad were very strict when they were at work. Nobody in the house while we're gone. So nobody could ever come in the house. Well, that particular day, I was not feeling well, so I was in the house, and everybody else was outside with my sister, and they were doing whatever kids do, and playing basketball and whatnot. Well, one of the boys from my neighborhood came to the front door, and everybody else was like out in the garage area. And he came to the front door and rang the doorbell. And I said, what, everybody's out there, what are you doing? He says, well, I just thought I'd come in and talk to you because, you're not feeling good and stuff. I said, no, I can't have anybody come in because my mom and dad say, no way, nobody's coming in the house. So I went to shut the door, and he put his foot in the door. So I was like, whatever, come on in, I don't care. I'm just watching TV. So we came in and sat down on the couch and started watching TV. Well, pretty soon, before you know it, he's scooting over toward me. He's putting his arm around me. I'm like, no, because if my mom or dad comes home, you're dead. That's all there is to it. So I was trying to get away from him, and then pretty soon it got a little bit worse than that. And he actually had his hand over my mouth, his legs around me, and was trying to molest me. So here I am in grade school, panic-stricken. What am I going to do? I'm thinking, rules and regulations are going to be broken here, and I'm the one going to hell. So heaven forbid, So I'm trying to get away from him, and I cannot get away from him. He's got me in such a scissor lock, and I cannot get away from him. So all of a sudden, my sister comes through the door into the dining or the den area where we are with an axe in her hand, of all things. Well, there was a metal door, so nobody could hear me screaming and hollering because he had his hand over my mouth anyway. I'm sure the Lord guided this whole thing. But she comes in with an axe in her hand. He lets go of me, And so I go running out the door, and I just ran. I ran and I ran and I ran and I ran.